Welcome back to the OSM channel. In today's video, I'm going to provide an overview, durability test, and I'm going to show you how I install these Siedinlar 4-mode solar-powered LED driveway lights on the edges of my asphalt driveway. I live back in the woods, and for years my wife has complained to me that she can't see where the driveway is when she's backing up the driveway at night. About 3 years ago, Siedinlar sent me their initial version of these solar-powered LED driveway lights. And for the most part, these lights have held up pretty well. I've had to replace a few of the batteries in these lights, and after about 3 years, there is a little bit of water intrusion in the housings, but even with that water intrusion, they are all still functioning, which is pretty incredible. Well, they liked that video so much that they decided to send me out their latest iteration of these lights, and I think they've made some improvements, and I can't wait to see how well these lights hold up over time. Now, these are the Siedinlar SD0314G model driveway lights. Again, they are solar powered. They have a rechargeable battery inside, which shortly we will crack open one of these lights and I'll show you what the internals look like. We'll see how well the inside is built. Now, these lights are IP68 rated. Now, what does that mean? Well, the 6 means that these are dust-tight enclosures, and the 8 means that these lights can withstand continuous submersion in water beyond 1 meter. We're going to test that. Now, the cool thing about the latest version of these Siedinlar driveway lights is that on the back of every one of these lights, there is a 4-position switch. Well, 5-position if you count the off switch. But now, these lights have 4 different lighting modes. We have solid blue, solid white, we have dynamic rotating blue, and dynamic rotating white. So you can set these lights up however you want. If you want to have alternating between blue and white and then the dynamic and the solid, it's completely up to you, which is pretty cool. For my driveway, I'm probably going to keep them all white, but I'll probably alternate between solid and rotating white. At the end of the day, the driveway is probably going to look like an airport landing strip at night, which means that the white probably isn't going to have any issues backing up the driveway. I just got to make sure no planes land in the driveway. Here's another improvement with the latest version of these lights. We now have 2 ways to mount these lights. Now, in the past, with the previous iteration of these lights, the only way to fasten these lights down were to screw them down. However, now you have the option of screwing these lights down or using these stakes, which these stakes are fantastic if you want to pin these in on the side of a grassy walkway or driveway. So now you don't have to screw these down. Now, as for the stakes, they are plastic, but they're going to be covered by the light. So I'd imagine in terms of UV deterioration, these are going to be pretty well protected, but they are plastic. Now, as for the light housing itself, it's encased with an aluminum alloy housing. And we have a clear plastic lens that goes over the solar panel as well as protects the LED diodes. Then we have our 5-position switch, which the switch is protected with what appears to be a soft silicone material to keep the IP68 rating of the housing. Now, how durable are these light fixtures? Well, according to the manufacturer, these are capable of withstanding 10 tons, which is a little bit of a downgrade because the previous iteration of these lights was rated for up to 20 tons. But, I mean, you look at the housing, it's a much thicker casting as opposed to the new ones. The casting is a little bit thinner, but the benefit of a thinner casting is there's greater light output. We have more light output on the top of the light as opposed to the old light. I mean, definitely a little bit less. So there's pros and cons to each, but I like the modern iteration. Charge time takes 6 hours of direct sunlight in order to fully charge these lights. And finally, these lights come with a 1-year manufacturer's warranty. So here's a closer look at the underside of the light. We have our switch. This is technically a 5-position switch, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So 0 is off. Position 1 is solid blue. Position 2 is rotating blue. Position 3, solid white. And position 4 is rotating white. Also, in the bottom casing, we have these 4 holes, and if you choose to use the stakes, this is where the stakes get inserted into the case. Now let's open up this light and see what's going on inside. Not wanting to separate. I bet you it's glued together. Must be. This light is really sealed together. Okay, we finally got her. See all that sealant. Okay, so on the previous version of these lights, when I separated the clear lens from the white housing, on the old version, there was just kind of like an O-ring gasket seal. On the new version of these lights, they've stepped up the seal. It appears to be some type of silicone seal. It's glued together. You can separate it, but when you separate it, obviously you're going to decrease the IP68 rating. But you can separate these two by hand if the battery does fail, which I much prefer the new version over the old version. You know, I'd expect this battery to last anywhere between 1.5 years to 3 years or even longer. You know, some of these batteries can last 4 or 5 years. When it comes time to replace the battery, you can separate the lens from the housing, but you're just going to have to clean up the old gasket material and then, you know, probably apply a new bead of silicone and you'll be fine. So inside the new light, we have a rechargeable NiMH battery, 900 mAh, 1.2 volt. We have our circuit board, our little solar panel, and of course our string LED lights. So that's what the insides look like. Now this light I just cracked open probably is not going to survive the durability test, but just in case it does, let's seal it back up with some sealant. Well, it's now time for durability testing. Safety should always be our #1 priority. Let's do a drop test. On its side. Still works. Pass. Let's run her over with the 250. No cracks in the housing. The bottom of the aluminum housing is chewed up a little bit from the tire turning on there, but it still works, so that's a pass. Sledgehammer drop test. 1 foot. No cracks. Let's try about 2 feet. So actually at about 2 feet with that 8-pound sledge drop test, we do have a crack here, here, and here in the aluminum housing. But does it still work? Yes, it does. So driving over this light, it seems like it was able to handle it just fine, and I actually think that the clear plastic housing actually gives the aluminum casting a lot of its strength, because there's actually a little lip where the aluminum sits on, and that clear plastic housing seems to really help to support the exoskeleton. However, when you start applying drop loads to this fixture, the aluminum casting definitely cannot handle it. Let's see what it takes to crack the housing. I have a rock hammer. Little scratch, but not cracked. I still don't think we're cracked all the way through. So it looks like that impact may have damaged the circuit board, because now it's on blue and white mode and it should be off right now, so we definitely screwed something up internally. It's hard to say, but we might have a little crack in the clear plastic housing now. Let's keep going. Now it's off. And I think we successfully fried the light this time. The clear plastic housing, although indented, doesn't really seem to be cracked. So the clear plastic housing is really what gives this light its strength, in my opinion. It's some tough stuff. 7:25 a.m. Let's test the IP68 rating of these lights by submerging them in the pond. Well, it's been a few hours. Let's pull that light out of the water and see if there's any water intrusion in the housing. Thinking that there won't be. And as of right now, I don't see a drop of water inside that housing, so I think they definitely improved the seal where the clear lens meets the white base. Also, does the light still function? Gotta try and create enough darkness here. Yes, it does. So how do you secure these lights to the ground? Well, if you have a soft surface such as grass or dirt or a garden, you could use the plastic stakes, only you gotta be careful that the lawnmower doesn't knock into these or the weed whacker doesn't rip these apart. You knock into this with the lawnmower kind of hard and you may break your stake. So that is an option. I would not recommend just leaving these lights sitting directly on the ground unsecured, especially on the driveway, because you saw earlier in the video, on a wet day, if your tire clips the light housing kind of weird, it'll actually shoot the fixtures right off the driveway. So you definitely want to secure these somehow. Now, if you're securing these lights to a wood surface such as a dock, a piling, or a deck, no problem. They include the standard wood screws. And these go right in the holes in the housings, and you could secure these right to any kind of wood surface, so no problem. But what if you want to secure these lights to, say, wood or asphalt? Well, you could use a construction adhesive, but then you're never going to be able to access the switch if you want to change modes, or if you ever need to maintenance the light, it can be kind of difficult to pry this light fixture up off that surface if you use some type of adhesive. So here's what I'd recommend. Tapcon screws. Tapcon screws are designed to secure objects to masonry surfaces such as asphalt, rock, concrete. So what you're going to need, for one, you're going to need a standard drill bit sized 13/64 to enlarge the hole in the casting, because the current hole will not accept the Tapcon screw that you're going to need to go through the hole. You may void the warranty by enlarging this hole, but I did a test over here and we did not go into the white plastic housing. We just enlarged that hole and it looks like it's going to work fine. So you're going to need that 13/64 standard drill. Now for the Tapcon screw size, I'm using 3/16 by 1.25" hex Tapcon screws. Only thing is, with these hex screws, due to the narrow profile of the housing, you're not going to be able to get a hex bit in here, so you are going to have to use a flathead in order to drive the fasteners through the fixture and into the asphalt. And then you're also going to need a drill bit, specifically a 5/32 carbide tipped masonry drill bit in conjunction with a hammer drill. And this is the proper size drill bit for this size fastener. So you're going to need some type of hammer drill. I have a Makita drill / hammer drill. You know, if you look at the collar of this thing, I know it's a hammer drill because it does have that hammer drill setting. This isn't great, but it will work for asphalt because asphalt is somewhat soft and malleable. If you're going through solid granite or, you know, a really hard rock, it isn't enjoyable, but a drill bit this small, 5/32, it should be able to handle it just fine. So let's install one of these into the asphalt driveway together. So the first thing we're going to do is use our 13/64 drill bit and enlarge mounting holes in the casting. And I've already pre-drilled the other hole. Change out the 13/64 drill bit for the 5/32 carbide tipped masonry drill bit. I'm going to switch modes on my drill / hammer drill from standard drill to hammer drill. Next, I'm going to flip the switch to the mode I want the light to operate on. In this case, the dynamic rotating white. Now it's time to secure the lights to the asphalt driveway. Now my recommendation is to lay out the lights first. Calculate how many lights you have, what kind of spacing you can get in between each light, and just try and keep everything even. Now when it comes time to secure the light fixture directly to the asphalt, here's my recommendation. Keep it as far off to the side of the driveway as possible so you minimize the chances of somebody driving over it, which will increase the lifespan of the light. But here's also something very important. Before you pre-drill the holes for the masonry screws, the Tapcon screws, rock the light in all directions. You want to ensure that the light is on a flat surface. Like, I would not want to mount the light right here because there's too much rock. And what would happen every time somebody drives over this, it would gently pull up on those Tapcon screws, thus you would have to re-secure the light somewhat frequently. So when you choose a surface, ensure that it's flat, rock the light in all directions, like right here. It's pretty solid. See right here, I'm rocking the light in all directions and there's really no rock, so this is a bomber anchor point and this is where I'm going to mount my light. I'm going to grab my hammer drill, start one hole, mark it out, I'll move the light off to the side and then we'll continue drilling this hole. So now that I have one hole pre-drilled into the asphalt, I'm going to partially install the first screw into that hole. Just enough to kind of secure it on, but you want to allow the light to swivel. So that way we can get the light in our final position where it's nice and stable. Which I like that spot right there. Line up the drill bit with the second hole. We'll get it started a little bit and then we'll move the light out of the way once more. Okay, have the hole started. Swivel the light out of the way. Keep drilling. Alright, our second hole is completely drilled. We will now swivel the light back over to align the mounting hole with the hole we just drilled in the asphalt. Insert the second Tapcon screw and gently secure this to the asphalt. That's how it's done.